I just bought a new automobile the same way they did in the 1900s when movies were silent.
Wow. Well, I just got this Jeep from FlexCar.
All my smackaroos go to paying off the hefty value this little gas buggy lost the second I chugged out of the dealership. Toot toot.
Okay, well, FlexCar includes maintenance and insurance, and I can switch to an F-150 or Mercedes anytime.
What are you, high on giggle juice? Buying a car is supposed to be the bum deal you pretend is the bison's berries.
I have no idea what you're saying. The first and only month-to-month car lease. FlexCar, you drive everything.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to Real Estate, Real and Unscripted with Nicole Miller. I'm excited to have you back. Today, we have a really awesome guest with us. I love her dearly. I've known her for many years, and we're going to be talking about accessory dwelling units. As you know, on the show, I try to bring you content about everything and anything relating to the real estate ecosystem, anything that touches it. So today we're having with us a contractor who specializes in these accessory dwelling units. She is a certified aging in place specialist and owns a company called JS1 Construction, as well as the Lifestyle Contractor. We'll talk more about that in our show. So I'm very excited to have with me today Jane Snell Simpson, who is a female contractor. And I love that. That's amazing. And so thank you so much for joining us today, Jane. And I'm looking forward to have you share some information about this ADU situation that you're very passionate about, I know. You got specialized in as well. Thank you for joining.
Extremely passionate because I think it could be huge. It could make really big differences in this. Not even South Florida, Florida. Period. You know, lots of people want them, and you know, it's just a process to get there, like anything else. But yes, thank you for having me on. By the way,
amazing. Yeah, with the affordability crisis and aging adults in our lives, and we're kind of like in the crux of a sandwich generation, they say, right? Where you're taking care of your children and you're taking care of your aging parent, and even rent is so expensive. And what does that look like to kind of get, families together in that way to help, improve their life as well. So I'm glad to have you here and we can talk about this very niche subject. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you into this space as a GC and specifically delving into ADUs? And also, and I'll plug this after if you forget, but I'm very big on being different and making a difference and being a change maker and kind of shaking up the industry in which you're in, not just settling for the status quo. And so what makes you different? What is your secret sauce and what makes you, elevated? So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So I've actually been in construction for a long time. I'd say 30 years at least. But, we started out manufacturing hurricane shutters a bunch of years ago. And then when the downturn happened in 07, 08, somewhere around that, I started to see a shift in the market. We really did stop manufacturing hurricane shutters and just kind of buckled down a bit to see what the market would do. And there's some things that were shown to me at that time that I started to see. One of them being people started to really value what they had or what they have because people were losing their homes. If anyone remembers 07, the downturn that happened, a lot of people lost their homes then. They were being qualified for things that they probably shouldn't have been qualified for.
Dogs were being qualified. If you had a pulse, literally your dog, if he was, cute and had a pulse, could qualify.
Yeah, see, there you
crazy.
go. So that was one thing. And people cared more about, families were pooling resources together, living together. You saw more of that. But, if you look outside of this country, people that come here, they're used to that anyway.
It's very common.
So It's very common. So I think they were kind of showing us the way, in many ways. But
takes a village too, right? It's kind of part of that too.
It definitely does. It's expensive to live here.
Yeah.
So that was the first of it. And I also started to notice that people really, the senior market, aging in place, that was really not terms that people knew much about. Didn't see really any action in people caring about the elderly and seniors and what happened. Around this same time, I was getting calls from friends who were concerned, my age at the time, concerned about their parents because they lived far away and they didn't know what was going on with them, and they were concerned and wanted to know and wanted to make sure they were okay. And they were having falls. That was also a common theme. And what happens after the fall? Sometimes it can be really bad.
Falls usually trigger a very bad domino.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So those were the things that were happening around me, and I started to put pieces together and say, well, they're having these falls in their homes most of the time, and this is where they live. They spend all their time here. This should be their domain. Should be safe for sure, but it should be comfortable, and it should be a place for them to relax and feel good about. These are things that I can do. So that's kind of what started it. Really doing things inside of the home, or looking at what we call basic access, which is having a door wide enough to be able to go in. That being basic, 36-inch wide doorways. Older homes, you won't find that as much. Newer ones is kind of standard now, but that's kind of how I can tell the age of homes when I walk in and I see having steps just to get into the home. Don't know why we did that, because there's really not necessary. Steps keep people out, even people you don't want to keep out, and unintentionally.
Yeah.
So things like that, were basic things that we just started to do around, I would say 2010 to 11. And that's kind of what started it. I mean, I got into this industry because my background is actually architecture, which I don't even know if you know.
I think I do.
Okay.
I think I do. I think years ago. I mean, we met in the senior space years ago.
Yes.
Years and years ago, pre-COVID, I mean, it's been a minute since we've met. And I know that you, I do feel like I remember in a conversation, and it's like in my mind's eye, I feel like we did have a conversation about that. So did you do much in that space with architecture, or just got like degree and went a different way?
I actually didn't get a degree, but my husband has a degree in architecture, and that's how we met in college.
Cute.
So, and I work with my husband, by the way, but
God bless you.
But
I don't think I could work with mine. I love you.
I understand completely. I get it. But yeah, it was my background, anyway. So to incorporate this in it was really not a stretch.
Yeah.
It's more of a love, and we just kind of naturally fit for it.
Very cool. Very cool. So what makes you in your business different? What do you bring to the table that you are proud of and feel we're going to change the game?
I really think it's the uniqueness of who we are. Peter is my husband, and, him with a background in architecture. It's also my background. I have a degree in construction engineering. So the combined parts of it, I think we naturally just know what to do with homes. They almost speak to us.
Yeah.
And someone called us the house whisperer at one time.
I love that.
That came to me. But yeah, I think that construction is always done the same way. Years ago, you look back 50, 60, 70 years, we're still doing things in the same order, in the same way they were done then. There is we live in a different world now. There's technology, there's all these there's products, but I'm talking about the way in which we do things has kind of moved me towards, well, you talked about ADUs. These ADUs, I see something different with them. The way we do them is modular, and maybe we can get into it a little bit, but modular, I think, is the way of the future. I really do. You can get a home a lot faster. The home is not inferior. It's really the same. We go through the same inspections as if it were built on site the traditional way. And people don't know that. So I wanted to say that. But that's where I see the difference is. We should embrace the technology that's here to help us, not really hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. So I know you have a guide. Is a modular ADU right for your family? And so if anyone has any interest in exploring this further, we'll have more information at the end of the show where they can hit you up and get that information and speak with you and ask any questions. But you mentioned in your guide that a modular ADU is not the right answer for everyone. And you actually wrote this guide to help people not pursue projects that don't fit them. That's unusual. What did you decide to talk people out of ADUs? Why did you decide to talk people out of ADUs instead of selling harder? So I think that's also part of your secret, makes you better, right? So it's not just about the sale. It's really about the consultation and understanding what people need and making sure that you as a consumer out there are working with someone who cares and has the experience and breadth of experience to help you figure out a solution to your situation, albeit may not be the right one for them at the end of the day. They may talk you out of something, but I think that that's important too. So why did you get to that point of you have obviously had some experience, you saw things, what brings you to that?
So yeah, at past experiences, realizing and knowing when people rush into things and they really don't do their homework and you don't know what to trust. There's so much out there. Thinking about those things is kind of what makes me say that. I also know that an informed client is a happy client.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you know that as well by just how I know you operate. I'd really rather spend an hour talking someone out of a project that really isn't right for them if I know it's not, than have we go down this road 6 months later and then they realize it's not the right thing for their life.
Yeah.
So I just really say there's a few things that really, you can just check off the list. If you're this person, then it really won't work for you. If you want a basic backyard unit and you're looking for the lowest cost possible to do that, I might not be a right fit for you, for that person. If your budget is under $100,000 and you've done research online that says you can build one of these for that, because I know it's out there, it takes more than that. You might be able to get the unit itself online for that, but there's a lot of work involved.
Looking up, installing,
that people don't talk about until you're in it. Absolutely.
With slabs that have to go in and all sorts of different things to
It's going to
meet
cost
codes. Right.
more than that.
Right.
Absolutely. All those things you mentioned. If your parents need round the clock care already, this may not be, the best fit if you're getting it for that purpose. If you want more of a mobile home type situation, and the cost of that probably would be less than $100,000, but that's not what we do.
What are these units looking like? What do they look like? What are the sizes? What are some of the specs? What do they got inside? What are they usually equipped with? What's kind of out there now with these units? What can someone expect? Or what have you been building and putting together that you're seeing is it one room, a little kitchenette, bathroom?
All of the above.
You can kind of make it make it yourself. What's square footage usually around, and not usually, but kind of the spans, you can have one as small as this, as big as this. You've done all sorts of them, I'm sure.
We have spoken with people who have wanted all those different things. And what really tends to drive it is the building departments.
I was going to say, are there limitations, obviously, of how big and what and how it could be put because of the building department?
Yes.
Right.
So you mentioned earlier what makes us unique and different. I go about this a little different than most people. If they're doing ADUs at all, they're going straight to the building and the property and asking questions about that. I really think it's a lot more involved than that, than just going straight to that. That is part of it, but that's not the end to all of whether someone should go forward with this process or not. And we do something, an assessment actually, of people right away. And usually it's in the first conversation I'm talking to you about it. If anyone is curious and wants to go online and look at it, it's called, if you look up ADU assessment, aduassessment.com, then you can take the assessment. but you'll see that it focuses on 4 different areas. And I do that because these things are important. It's a lot more involved than the property itself. Um, the property potential is one of the areas that we focus on because, yes, it's important and we need to know whether the city or the county is going to allow you to get this.
Right.
That's one of the first things that I do. But when you take this assessment, you're taking it because there are all these different pieces should come together. You should have a score. At the end, you'll have a score. And you'll also have, you'll know different parts. There's like 30 questions, I believe. But you'll see how these different pieces come together, and it'll help you make the best decision that you can make. But property potential is one. Financial readiness is another one. Obviously, we need to know that, you've thought about how you're going to pay for it, and it works, with your budget, or you can get the money to where you can do it. Independence window is one I think that gets missed. And that's important because if you're doing it for your aging parents, you want to know that they're active, that they're going to be happy there. They're going to be independent enough to be able to live their life there without problem. And the last one is family dynamics. And that definitely gets missed. Because if everyone's not on board, it's a big deal when you decide to have a parent living that close to you.
Yeah.
It's a big deal in a negative. It can be in a negative way, but I choose to think about the positives of that. If you got young children, how sweet and how cool is it to have them
right there
interact with your parents?
Yeah.
People don't. I think
and it's nice because there's so many options with aging in place as we get older, right? So as you're getting older, there's so many things that can come up. You can have a house that may be able to be modified and you can stay there, right? Or you have a house that has 2 stories, no bedroom downstairs, and now you're moving somewhere else. And then you have people that might consider moving in with their family member. Or I've had families where they buy another house with 5 bedrooms because now mom and dad are moving in with them. And then it's like, well, let's say you're not going to move in, but you're kind of moving in the backyard. So there's like different levels of like how you can and if that's not something that works and you're going to move into, you're going to downsize into your own little space, or you're going to go into an assisted living or an independent living situation. So it's kind of like the whole, spectrum of options of what you can do. And this is a really cool one that's available in not everywhere, right? Obviously. So you can't just build in your backyard, in your HOA community, and, wherever you are. Obviously, there's limitations that are put on with that, with respect to that. So you've got some cities and counties and municipalities that are more friendly and easier to work with, right? And some that have a lot more restrictions and things like that. So you kind of have to look at that as well, right?
That's my job to do that.
Yeah.
To do that. And I try to do that as quickly in the process, at least to get to a quick yes by finding out what the regulations are locally. Obviously the zoning is important. And I have a quick story that I can tell you, something recently that happened. I had someone call, and they had been told by multiple contractors that different things. Some said that they could do it, but this much setbacks or this, your property's not big enough, this, all kinds of things. So I asked the questions that I do normally, and found out later after calling. I didn't call the city initially. I have a process that I use to give me a quick answer whether this is going to work for them based on the county or the city's regulations that they put out there that we can easily get to. But you got to know where to look, obviously.
Yeah.
So it came back that initially it came back, yes, this is a single family home, you can do it. I questioned it a little bit because of something I saw. I don't remember what it was. Went back to them and they said, no, the property is zoned as agricultural residential and not as single family, so they can't do it. Agricultural residential in this case limits the size of the property. If they had they were on an acre-sized property, they could have done it. If they were on
Because only
something
so much can be
smaller,
built on that size of a lot.
well, it's how the zoning is written. You could obviously fit one there, but the city tells
Requires
you
enough land that's not built on to
correct.
be able to classify it as agriculture. You
Correct.
can't have agriculture residential and have 90% of it built up, because then clearly
Yes.
it's not agricultural.
There's
Yeah.
lots of different ways to get there. But yeah, you just touched on something else. The built area of your property versus green space matters as well.
Right.
A big deal to the building department. So I questioned that again, and I went to we had a meeting, I had already had a meeting with the client set up, and I say, listen, I'm not comfortable 100% sure this is correct still. It's going to take me a little bit more time, but I'm going to call the zoning department in the city myself, ask some more questions, and let's see if we could get the real answer, because I don't want you, just like when we originally talked, you told me you still don't have a solid answer as to what you can do. I'm going to get that, but it's going to take me a little bit more time. You have a there's something going on here, but I can't quite put my finger on. So I call the city. I get them, but they're busy. They put it off. Every day we're calling them.
Yeah.
Finally, they come back and they say, well, it isn't an AR property, agricultural residential, but they actually have another, sub-designation, PUD, which is Planned Unit Development. And that means that when this community was built, there was 18 of them.
Yeah.
And you can have an ADU because of that. And if you don't ask the right questions, we would have never gotten there. They would have thought that they couldn't do it. Now, from that, I also learned limitations on the size of an ADU in Palm Beach County is 800 square foot. If you're on a property less than an acre, that's a general. And maybe I'm sharing too much now, but that's general information. But they can get up to 800 square foot as long as
everything else makes
meet the
sense,
setbacks.
Right?
Nothing's.
She's not guaranteeing that in right now. There's a lot of different things that are involved, but that's the potential.
Yes.
Right.
So, but yeah, I said that because you can get a quick answer, but if you really don't know what you're looking at or looking for, it takes a contractor who's going to put the extra time in to get you to a quick yes or no, and then you can move on from there. And that's actually what our process is, because I don't want clients paying money only to find out that you can't get something done later. I mean, that's disappointing.
Have you seen any horror stories or after the facts or things that came your way from people that maybe things were not done right, or maybe
I hear them online. I see a lot of it, mostly in the California market, because they're doing so many of them over there.
It's a big thing over there.
We're not doing a lot of them here yet. But that will change because of legislation. There was a bill that went in last year that I've been following about ADUs. I forget the congressman that introduced it. I think it was Gates. But anyway, it was introduced, I believe it was last year, beginning of last year. It went through its channels. It didn't make it through last year. This year, in February, I believe it was the House that voted on it.
I feel like
it passed 32-0 in the House.
Oh, wow.
It didn't get any further. We thought it was going to go further and go through, but it failed in the Senate. But that's not discouraging, because I know if we can get a unanimous vote in the House in one side of it, we can get the other one.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
They had more questions and it just ran out of steam.
Right.
So it's going to happen. But let me tell you why it's important. It's important because all of these things, these hurdles, these gymnastics that we have to do now to figure out whether you can get one or not, it's going to make things so simple.
Easier. Yeah.
Because they're going to put in there that if you're in a single family home and your property is zoned as single family, by right, you can get this. And we don't have that right now.
Oh.
And that's one of the problems. That's why I have to go through so much.
A lot of red tape and
Yeah, just to get there. That's one of the things. There's some other things also that are going to be there to make things easier, like home homestead, that's one that they wouldn't let you. In some cities, you can't get it unless it's your homestead property.
Oh, got you.
Okay,
Got you. Yeah.
that's big if you really think about it. Because if you have a second property, they won't let you get one, or they'll limit who.
So
can do
that
it, who
makes
can
me
live in it.
question it because I'm actually going to be interviewing the property appraiser. And so I'm just curious, maybe you know, and I'll ask him, but like if you had an ADU on the property, right? Like when you do improvements to your home and it goes through and it's permitted and sometimes it gets reassessed based on what's been done. And so this is one folio number, right? It's one folio. It's not like you're subdividing the lot. I wonder how that manifests on the tax assessors like numbers. If you put the ADU and then there's a reassessment of the property, right? So I'm curious how that's working.
If you get an opportunity
curious
to
to see
look
some
up, or
examples.
maybe ask him.
Yeah.
That would be an easy question to ask
Yeah.
him. He probably would know the answer. There's something called the granny flat exemption,
Okay.
tax exemption. That covers that. Most of the counties in the state of Florida recognize the granny flat exemption. Not all of them, but most of them do.
Uh-huh.
And that explains what you just said, because there's tax savings between what you've paid for the property, what it values for. I just don't want to get into the
No. Yeah, I'm throwing it out there because I want to figure it out now. It's got me thinking. But
Yeah.
because like you said, it's not as common. And it's not as common in Broward County, especially since we have so many HOAs and, communities that would not allow for it. But yeah, it just got me thinking.
But speaking of HOAs, that's another thing that's going to go away, because HOAs are stopping these things from happening, and they won't. That will be, I believe, the way it's written, HOAs won't be able to deny folks because of the.
It'd be interesting.
by
That'd be
rights.
very interesting. I mean, even like with solar, that people would say, "Oh, I'm in an HOA. They don't allow solar," and the legislation said, right, they can't do that, right? That solar panels, I believe.
Oh yeah,
Something
I
with
think
solar.
you're
Yeah,
right.
don't quote me on it out there, guys. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's something out there with the fact that you can't. And I had learned that as well. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because it's one of those things. The HOA wants to maintain a certain thing, everyone uniform and looking a certain way, but at the same time, you're in a position as a homeowner, like where your rights to enjoy your property in the manner in which you wish to, right? So that's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. What would you say the biggest misconception you see like realtors and homeowners having about these modular ADUs? How is a modular unit different from what people think they're getting? So you mentioned about modular, right? So kind of speak to what are the options of building these units, and what does modular look like as opposed to the alternatives? Speak to more about that.
So the biggest misconception is that people think modular means somehow inferior, and it does not. We pass I have to go through the same codes as if I'm building it on site the traditional way. It's just that a large portion of the process is built in the factory. It doesn't mean that no one's watching and it's not getting the inspections, because, and it also, there's some pluses to it. It goes through the permitting process a lot faster, because when it's built in the factory, it gets all of its inspections there. It also comes with pre-paperwork that the state of Florida has approved already. So when I submit this to the building department as a modular unit, I give them this paperwork, and it says, this is attached to this plan that I'm putting in, and this plan has been approved, or this products that make up this unit has been pre-approved, and the building department is not allowed to
you're approving like the package of the unit as opposed to like breaking it down and
Correct.
all of that, right? Yeah.
So they can't rejudge and re-comment and
Does it meet standards up to it's already like halfway done, prepackaged for
Correct.
you? Are those units, so when you're building it on site and modular versus whatever it is, I was just up in the Northeast and I was traveling, and I just find it funny. I've been in Florida forever, and I see cinder block construction, right? I see the slab, the cinder block, the impact windows, the roof, strapping. I'm like a Florida girl. That's a house to me. When I go up into the Northeast, I see like these houses made out of wood. I'm watching them be built, and I'm like, that seems like a birdhouse to me. Like, it's just funny. My husband makes fun of me. I'm like, I'm going to be the person if I move to the Northeast, it's going to literally build like a Florida house up there, because that's just how I've been conditioned through all the hurricanes since I was baby. So I see Florida building code after Andrew and all that as like my like baseline. So when you're building, and I just came home from the Northeast yesterday, so I was just, it was kind of fresh in my mind. But when you're building these, I suspect the modular ADUs are built in a manner that have like the code with Florida, right? And then are they wood? How are they? They're obviously a wood structure of sorts, right? And are you building them on site differently than if it was wood? Is there different construction elements involved in either one? Or
yes, is a short answer. Majority of modular homes down here are steel construction.
Steel.
Okay. So, it means that the steel frame construction, let me say it that way. That's actually the proper way to say it. It means that where you would see studs and wood members, where down here a lot of homes are built with CMU, concrete masonry block. This is built of steel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gone through its process to know that it will pass the wind load.
Yeah.
Obviously here in Florida, or else it wouldn't be allowed.
Right.
There's actually very few companies allowed to build in Broward and Miami-Dade. Palm Beach, I think, actually is more the rest of the state.
Yeah.
Code-wise. But yeah, there's only like a handful. There was like one or two. I think there might be a couple more now, but there's not very many that are allowed to build in down here. The rest of the state, the codes are a little different. It's still the Florida Building Code,
mm-hmm.
but they don't have to meet the wind loads that we have to meet down here. So that's one thing. Them being built out of steel is compatible to being built out of,
right,
any other material. It's just the manner in which they're put together, and then it's tested as a whole, like in that manner, tells us that it meets this code versus, the next one. So don't shy away from modular building because you think that it's somehow inferior. It is not. In fact, I would not be willing to bet, but I would counter that it's probably built better in most ways when it's built in a factory.
Yeah,
because it's the materials. It's built first in a controlled environment.
Right.
If we build something on site, you got the weather conditions.
True. Yeah.
You got maybe laborers and people not coming in, tradespeople not coming in. There's all kinds of things that happen on site.
Right.
And things get somehow missed or overlooked. When it's built in a factory, it's pretty much cookie cutter.
Yeah. And it gets tested and it's like out the door.
Yes.
So this thing comes up to you on a flatbed and it like gets delivered in its entirety, or are you piecing it together on site? Is it coming in pieces?
Both.
Depends on the size.
Depends on the manufacturer.
Uh-huh.
They have different ways of doing it. My first time when I first got into this, my preferred way was for it to come on a flatbed, because my background is telecommunications and I actually used to do that kind of work at one time.
Ooh.
We didn't even know that.
No, that I didn't know.
But yes. So that was my preferred method. But I quickly realized that there are a lot of challenges with that. The biggest one being, if it's coming on a flatbed and we have to lift it off with a crane.
Yeah.
There's a crane now.
Production.
Crane has to come down the street. Crane has to get on the property. You tear up the property a lot of times with a crane. And it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So there are other ways of getting a modular now, and it can be what I like to call a kit of parts, where they map it out, they have their floor plan, and they build it in the factory according to, how do I say, in these panels.
Pieces kind of, like
that
when they used to sell the Sears houses and catalogs from back hundreds of years ago. Yeah.
And it comes in these pieces on a flatbed truck or in some sort of a semi, and delivered on site. You have people there to receive it. There's no real heavy equipment needed in that case. And you don't need all of this space that you need for a crane.
Right.
So it kind of changes the game. But that's another hybrid way. I call it a hybrid modular, but that's another way of getting it done.
Yeah.
Without the high cost of bringing in crane and all the problems and things that you have to look for when you have a crane involved.
Yeah. No, very cool.
Yeah.
So walk us through your phase 1 and phase 2 process. What problems do you typically find before someone commits to construction? What would have happened if they skipped that step? Tell us a little bit about your process, a little bit more into your process.
So this phase 1 and phase 2 is really my own.
And I was going to
thing.
say, that's why, and sorry to interrupt you, that's why you hire someone like Jane, who's a specialist, who really does this at a high level, right? That has these proprietary processes and things that she's put in place, as opposed to, what should you as a consumer be looking for when you're hiring someone? And so that's
correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yes, I did this because I have seen, I've heard the horror stories. Most of the problems are in California because they do so much of it there. But contractors, you have to trust them. That's a hard thing anyway to do here.
Yes.
You give them a hefty deposit. You wonder whether you're ever going to see them again. You don't know because we just live it's like that now.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. So I just put myself in that position and I say, well, first, how would I feel if I had to work with someone that I barely know and I have to give them this kind of money? Yes, we have laws and rules, but there's a process
to get that back.
To enforce that, right.
Exactly. There's a process to enforce it.
What can we do to, kind of take care of this ourselves where we're comfortable working with this person? So I decided that the best thing to do, the right thing to where people feel comfortable working with you is you break this down to smaller pieces so that if something were to go wrong, you're not invested for all of this money. You're invested for a small portion of it at that time. So the phase 1 was developed because of that. I needed to find a way to quickly be able to get people the information that they need to where they're comfortable, and I'm comfortable saying, yes, you can do this. So that's where the phase 1 comes. And it's really just a little what I described before. It's speaking to the proper agency to make sure. Sometimes I have to do that, and I usually do that in that phase. It's coming up with what we call a feasibility report is in the phase 1. It's written information that I'm no longer just telling you. I'm actually giving you something in writing showing this is how I know that you're able to get this done. It's got the setbacks written there. It's got, what the regulation in your county or your city is, what they say. Sometimes if I can get something in writing from the city, which is kind of hard to do, I try to do that because I know it's going to ease your mind.
Right.
That it won't go wrong on this end. If you decide to change or do something, that's different. But I want to make sure that I've covered all bases for you as best as I can. For a quick, yes, you can do this, but with these quick parameters. Now, the phase 2, I'm doing the same. I'm just basically taking that information and going further with it. Now I have a little bit more time to do. I come at the first phase. I'm usually not even. I'm not coming to the site. We're doing everything GIS, global system, online.
Right. It's numbers.
It's numbers.
Yeah.
Exactly. The second phase, I actually come on site, and then I can see a bigger picture. I can see what trees might be there.
I was going to say trees,
what, what actually our limits are. I'm also able to find out what your impact fees are. That takes a little bit more time sometimes, getting this information from the city or the counties. If you build a home and it's on this property, the city wants their portion for taxes. Mm-hmm. That's really where your impact fees come in. It's not permit fees, that's separate. And I've found that most people don't spend enough time on this. They just say, well, that's up to the homeowner and they'll take care of that. I don't feel that that's
Are we
the
talking
homeowner's
about
project.
property taxes, or are we talking about taxes on the job of it being done
Property taxes.
after? Right.
Well, when I say property taxes, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is, but it's done in the same way that when you pay your property taxes, it gets added to it eventually. But initially they want you're adding this much
Right.
livable space to this property.
Right.
So it's as if you're building, it's a new home.
Right. It's like my question to Marty that I was going to ask Marty about.
So they
like,
want
how does it, where does it impact your property's value from the eye and lens of the property appraiser's office and your.
So impact fees are just like, it's basically, when we have to pay so much towards school taxes
Mhm.
and so much towards roadway,
Right.
so much that's where that comes into play.
Right.
So based on this square footage that we're adding, they calculate what your bill
Effectively
is,
your new assessed
and we
value.
pay it on the spot. When we permit, we pay it.
Oh.
Now, your property is evaluated at the end of the project,
Yes.
and that will get put in,
Got you.
and it will become part of your taxes at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, did I explain that?
Got you.
Okay.
Noted. Yep.
So people don't know this naturally.
Mm.
People think it's just a permit fee.
Mm.
Permitting fees are different, are separate. And I want you to know all of this information as soon as I possibly can get it to you,
Right.
because I feel like it could impact
The decision.
your project, your decision.
Yeah.
And that's not traditional. It's not the way contractors usually work, because those fees are typically not part of their construction. And so they leave it up to the homeowner, property owner, to just, whatever it is, they'll pay it.
Right. You like to give the whole picture.
Exactly.
And like I said in all my previous shows and my intro show, well-informed person makes the right decisions. And sometimes the well-informed person doesn't turn into business. Sometimes my well-informed person wants to sell and I'm like, we're not going to sell. You're going to modify your home. Where are you going to go? It doesn't make sense. The numbers don't make sense, blah, 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 right? That's a professional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel the exact same way. I think we're doing our clients a disservice if we don't speak up and we don't tell them. Even if it turns into it's not a project, I'm okay with that.
Right. It's not about the sale. It's about making sure that you're a resource. And unfortunately, I feel like in our industries, every industry, when it's about the sale, people don't last.
No, I
Sorry,
agree.
they don't.
I agree.
So yeah, no, that's
Because that's all they
definitely important.
got.
Yeah.
That's
It's
all
not
they got.
about that. You're a professional, you're licensed, you've got all this knowledge, like for a reason, right? Otherwise, you are just a random widget that can build something. But if you had to go through all these things to actually have licensure, to have you're an advisor, you're a guide, you're not just like the widget to do the job. I just see it that way. Yeah.
I actually see myself as more of a guide, a consultant first,
Right.
rather than a contractor.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's awesome. I feel you there. Yeah, no, I love it. And that's why I like to bring like-minded people on the show. Let's see. So you've been a code compliance specialist for 16 years. From that perspective, what are the permitting and code issues in South Florida that people massively underestimate, especially right now? And speak to that code compliance specialist. Talk more about that.
I feel it gives me a huge boost in the ADU world,
Mm-hmm.
because I know more what to look for. I know who to call. I know what type of problems that are out there, for number one. But I got into that around the same time that the downturn happened. I couldn't tell you everything that was going on at that time earlier, but
Yeah.
you brought it up now, so I can tell you a little. I started to see people, I knew people do work without permits all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, in this down market at that time, the building department was taking notice of it now. Because before that, you could do a title search and it didn't come up.
Right.
That's why you have so many old, like open permits from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing. That's
yeah,
a
I had
thing.
one from the late 90s for a pool on one of my listings. Late 90s.
Mhm.
Went through like multiple ownerships too.
Yeah, and you wonder, why is this coming up now for my client? And
It came up
didn't.
then too. It came up then too because our as-is contracts don't have anything about the seller rectifying the unpermitted work. It literally has in it that unpermitted work is a totally different story. I'm talking about even open expired permits.
Mhm.
And that's in the as-is contract, and it does not make the seller rectify it. It's literally like if there was anything, and out there, buyers, if you're buying something, if your agent doesn't add verbiage that's put into the additional terms that basically says that the seller is going to cure any unpermitted work or open expired permits at their own cost and expense prior to closing, the contract in and of itself basically says, yo, Mr. Buyer, you got through your inspection period to figure that stuff out. And if you missed that and there's an open or expired permit and the agent didn't add that verbiage in there, then you need to inherit it. You've inherited it. It's not in there. The verbiage is not in there. And then on top of that, unpermitted work. And what people think is what requires permits. And it's like, oh, I just changed the cabinets in the kitchen. I'm like, noted. Did you change just the top ones? No. What do you mean? Well, the top ones would be okay to change without a permit because you only just changed the top ones and you didn't do anything else. And why are the bottom ones? Because I had a whole conversation with a city inspector about this because someone didn't believe me when I told them this. And they're like, well, did you change the bottom ones in the sink and the outlets? Like, I'm sure you didn't leave the beige colored outlets that were there before with the original kitchen. Okay, right. So while the code says, and it's funny because like I even said that to the guy I was talking to from one of the cities, and I'm like, that's just so annoying that it says that because it says kitchen cabinets. But then I'm like, but it touched electrical and it touched plumbing. Well, I didn't move it. No, but you changed the sink and you probably changed the valves, let's be real, because your contractor didn't just change the sink and leave the old decrepit valves from 1970, right? They changed the shower. Oh, but you got rid of the Duroc, you put new wall, it probably wasn't even Duroc. I've seen them, they were like gypsum board back in the day, right?
That's
And
right.
so you remove that, and I'm sure you didn't leave the same valve. Let's be totally real there. Your guy did not save it, right? Because you're getting a new Moen or Joe Schmo faucet, and it comes usually with a valve, and so you didn't just, like, people think it's because I didn't move anything. And then,
I hear that a lot.
oh my, all the time, right? And so,
Especially if they're not from Florida originally, they come from
Yes.
somewhere else.
yeah.
And things are very different in other states.
And different worse and different easier, right?
Right.
So like you'll see in some states where you can't breathe without getting a permit. And then you'll see in other states, like I was up in the Northeast, I was asking questions. I like to ask questions wherever I am to kind of get an idea. Then also it depends on the person. They may not even really know the real truth. So,
That's true.
but yeah, as far as like, work and like you were saying, code compliance specialists and everything. And I know we kind of digress, but you were starting to see work that was being acknowledged by, we'll circle back to that, the building department and realizing and
Apparently, before that time, they weren't really showing up in the title searches. That's
No.
where I've come to the conclusion because they may have been there, but if you didn't ask the right questions, the title, I don't know if they just
title.
weren't.
So how title searches will be done is and it depends on the city. So
Okay.
certain cities, and I got this recently actually, certain cities have where their like lien search that they do
Mhm.
includes open permits. And that's
That's what
part
I'm
of their
talking
lien
about.
search, right?
That's exactly
Title,
what I'm
yeah, it
talking
won't come
about.
up on title unless there's a lien and there's other stuff involved. But like it's the lien search, right? So you do the city lien search. You go to Coral Springs, you do a city lien search. You pull the lien search. Certain cities have it where they give you the lien search back and it includes open and expired permits.
Mhm.
Certain cities, it's not part of that. It's separate. And I learned that recently because I didn't realize that. The title agent was like, hey, we got the lien search back, but the permit part of it is a separate department and that can't be rushed. And then I dug into that. I'm like, oh, son of a gun, that's true. They don't touch that. It's a separate order. So if your title company is not ordering that for you, you're not going to see that. But also at that point in time, folks, it's too late because you're already past your inspection period. And if your contract doesn't say anything about the seller will cure any open or expired permits with themselves, and your title company gets that report and it says on there that there's an open permit from 1985 from a roof or whatever, I don't know, like you're responsible at that point. You're locked into that. So typically when you have an inspection company, a lot of them will pull permits or you know pull the permit history to kind of give you an idea.
I didn't even realize inspection companies did that now.
Some of them will. The good ones will. And then you also can do that because 95% of these cities and municipalities have everything online. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain systems that are newer and older and blah, blah, blah. And if it was put in 2000 and then like before 2000 was not actually digitized and your seller bought the place in 2016, you would have assumed that she had people that took care of her and closed it at 2016. This is an example I found because I checked this ahead of time on all my listings. And there was one that was from like 15 years before the system was digitized. And it was like 30 years before my seller bought the place. But she didn't have anyone in her corner and had no idea she inherited an open permit for a patio tile situation in a condo on the beach. And so, you can look up that stuff yourself. Most of the cities are online, but you want to make sure that you're getting that information earlier than later, because once your lien search comes back and that's past your 7-10 day inspection period usually. And so now you're in a position where if that verbiage wasn't added in your contract, and I'm not an attorney, I'm not giving legal advice, but most brokerages have a boilerplate additional term that does kind of address that. And so it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't realize it and, don't realize the importance of it. And if things are not permitted too, you want to make sure you're doing a certain different level of inspection. There's certain parts of behind the wall. You have no idea what they did. You don't know. I had a seller who had $1 million house back during the pandemic. They moved out. I was helping get rid of clutter and we moved stuff out of the closet and the floorboards, beautiful wood floors were a different color and they were wet and they were seeping, liquid. And I was like, what the heck is this? So my handyman came, he opened up the wall. I was like, I hope it's the leak from the pipe and it's not the fact that they installed the shower without a pan liner.
Oh my God.
There was no pan liner.
Oh.
They did 3 showers in this house with no liners. They took drywall, they put it up, but he called me, my guy, and he was like, this freaking idiots, Nicole, you wouldn't believe what I just found. And I was like, he sent me pictures. I'm like, oh my God. And he opened it from the other side of the wall. And there was nothing. It was like drywall. It wasn't even Durock. This is in a very expensive home in East Fort Lauderdale. And that's how, and we disclosed and, blah, blah. And the guy who bought it, they knew very well that that's what it was. And you got to, but that happens a lot. So the permits are there to protect you from people not doing the right job.
Yeah, your projects are only as good as the people that you've chosen to work for you,
right?
That you've hired. And you don't know them. It's a new relationship most times. That's just somebody you've worked with, for a while. You really don't know.
Not for anything though, Jane. Even if it's someone you've worked with for a while, you as a consumer without the information and knowledge, like me, short of me having the experience of 2 years to sit for my GC test, I feel like I'd probably get like a 75 if I took it right now. Because I've got all this, I've learned all these things. I know what things have to be in certain, but you as a regular consumer out there, you don't know. So I can't tell you how many times someone tells me, my contractor, James. And I'm like, first off, James is not a contractor. Let's make that very clear. He's not a contractor. So they use those words interchangeably. He's got no license. He is a handyman who does stuff. And they're like, well, my contractor did it. And then we're going into it and the inspector is like this, that, and something happens. Or you're like, you thought you trusted him. So you may know Joe for years, and he may be the guy who does all your electricity work in your house. And then you go to sell this house. And I can't tell you, this is all experiential for me. I've had stories, like literally, I can't even tell you. There's so many of them are popping in my head right now. And I'm like, yep, changed the electrical panel, didn't change the electrical panel. Seller thought they changed the panel inside. Nope, they did not. They didn't even change the bus. They changed things like that. And this is their person. So you may not have the expectations. You may already be coming from not knowing. You may have expectations of somebody and knowing that they did certain things, and you may not know if they're doing it right. So there's a lot of that too. I can tell you so many stories.
I can tell you that if they're a handyman, there's a rule of thumb associated with that. It may look good, may look like, you walk in and everything looks like it looks professionally done. But if it's a handyman, the problem with handyman, I don't have a problem with handyman, just in general. I don't. But I'm not saying that. What
But
I'm
there's certain
saying
things they are
is,
not even supposed to be doing.
yes, but on top of that, they're not aware because they never have to have anything inspected.
They didn't have the codes.
We're
They
on
didn't
our
learn it.
toes constantly because we get permits. And getting permits, the process is either an inspection has to be had by the city. So that keeps us on our toes. That
Right.
keeps us, we would do the right thing no matter what, because that's just, I don't deal
Who
with
you
people
are.
that don't.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the codes change over the years for a reason. If you're still doing things that was done back in 20 years ago, a handyman may do that because they don't know that things have changed.
They don't have to keep up with the licensing. They don't have to keep up with CEUs
Exactly.
and stuff. And
So I want to say that because they're probably doing it unintentional,
yeah, no,
but
and
it's still wrong.
Yeah.
It's still wrong at the end of the day.
Certain things though deserve that licensed person, right? So like you have electrical, you have plumbing. Like that shit could go wrong.
Yes, it can.
like you paint something great, you do some drywall work great, certain things, flooring and whatever. But there's certain things that will gravely affect the value of your property if they're not done correctly.
Absolutely.
And so
100%.
yeah, that's a big thing. No, it's great. Great conversation. So let's see. I got one more question for you. Your guide mentions a 10 to 13 year payback on rental income and a range of 260 to 360,000. For someone listening who's on the fence, how do you help families out? Like, speak a little bit more about that I'm sharing, figuring out their financial situation. And also I was going to plug in, do you know, and from your experience, is there like financeability with things like this too? Like construction loans? Like maybe you
Yes.
don't know, or like obviously you might know, but speak a little bit more to that.
It's better now than it used to be when I first got into this. These ADUs, it was harder to find financing for them because it was unknown and they just didn't trust it's being built somewhere else. It's being
Right.
brought. It's a different model than what they're used to seeing. But now that they're out there, people want them. And I'm seeing more products where, the financing is there. There's still, it's not as plentiful
Right.
as just mortgages on a home.
Well, it's the same like mobile homes too. And it's also a different beast that I feel like lenders are kind of starting to get, it's new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's, anything new is going to have that. But now that's out there and you would be able to find it, and you still have a lot of the same choices, options that you would have just with a, single family, any home being built, or this is not a remodel process. This is a built new home. So I'll stick with that. You still have those same options where you may be able to take money out of
Like
your
a HELOC.
what was it?
You could take money out of your
HELOC.
house.
Yes.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
do that for these.
Yeah.
The it's changing rapidly what you can do with these ADUs. It's not, like looked at as a, there's nothing you can do and we don't have anything and we can't give you money for it. That's not true any longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm proud to say that. You asked me something
Something
else.
about rental. You were saying something about the payback and rental income if you were doing this for like a rental situation or.
So yeah, there's a number of reasons why people want these units. The rental is interesting because obviously depending on what you're charging for rent, what you can get out of it depends on the area that you're in, what you can get per month for them. But that calculation is based on that. If it's a 1-bedroom, it's obviously going to be you're going to pay usually on the lower end of the spectrum, which is somewhere around between $200, $250. And then it goes up. If you're a larger unit, maybe a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, you can fit. If it's 800 square foot, you can easily do that. And that obviously costs a bit more to get built.
So what's like the average price per square foot? Can you run
I don't
that?
like the square
No?
foot question.
Yeah.
because it's a terrible question.
Okay,
It's-
sorry, you're good. No, I'm just curious with people out there, like, what is something, because, when you're building a new construction home, right? And I'll
Mhm.
have houses that are in very bad shape and we're like pricing it to see if we could sell it for like lot value, right?
Yes.
And, at max, the max amount we can get the seller for it. And then we look at, the max that you could put on this land and how much it costs to build a new construction. And then it's like, well, that may not even work. We might be better off selling it the way it is and having someone gut it because cost of construction has gone up, right? And
Yes.
price per
tremendously.
square foot and someone had shared it with me. I'm like, oh my God, really? Like that much? And so just was curious if there's any kind of metrics with that or rough.
Okay, so I had that reaction because everyone wants to know the price per square foot. It really is a common question. So you're not asking anything uncommon. I hate it so much because there's so much wrong, just misinformation associated with it. Keep in mind, it's going to be much higher than homes because you're looking at a very small house, but I still have to put
All those things
plumbing,
all the time. Yeah.
electrical, 2 bathrooms, 1 bathroom.
You get bigger
kitchen.
with scale. You lose, it comes lower when you go scale.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's scary
Yeah.
to people if you start saying 300-400 square foot. Those numbers just blow people's minds. So I really don't prefer to talk about it that way because it really has no real.
It also depends on how you're putting, like what you're putting into it and the
Yes, that too.
level of.
That
Yeah.
too. I mean, if you're putting, most people don't go crazy over these. They just want something,
Basic.
comfortable to live in, and it's average prices. They're not going overboard with it. So, but yeah, you're looking at 400 or 500 a square foot for this little tiny, 600-700 square foot unit in the back. Those numbers are scary when you think about it like
Which
that.
is why, though, I think it goes back to what we started with about making sure it's the right decision, because there's also not everything is about money. There's also right? Not everything is about the money. Like if you wanted to buy a condo and $100,000, I'll sell you them all day. We've got a ton of them, right? It's about, the family dynamic. If it's right for that circumstance with your family, you have the kids that live there, your grandparents are in the back. Do you have that family relationship where that in and of itself gives you innate value, regardless of the numbers, right? Like it makes sense to have mom close because you want that, or just there's a lot more than just like the numbers.
There's one other thing in the number area that I want to say. Remember, one of the first questions you asked me is, why would I tell people not to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're having a conversation behind what's going to happen with mom and dad, what am I going to do? I don't want to say with them, but what's going to be comfortable for them, okay? This is the type of thing that should be part of the conversation because it really is a great option for the right people. If you're comparing an ALF, assisted living facility, and because this is actually a common thing that people look at when they're thinking of this. If my mom or my dad goes to an assisted living facility, it's $6,000 to $8,000 minimum.
Oh, yes.
That's normally the numbers I hear out the door every month.
Yep.
This gives back in some way.
Yeah.
Because it's your property.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
it's
so
like investing. It's like
it's an investment.
It's like buying a house, investing it as opposed to renting and the money going garbage too. Yeah, no, that's a good way of.
So
thinking
that's
it too.
why I say I really think the right way is to look at these different areas. Don't just look at it in a silo that this is how much it's going to cost and I don't have this much. You have to plan this.
And
That's
you could
the right
also
way.
look at it like you have mom and dad move in or mom move in, and maybe you may think that, okay, like I'm going to get a 1-bedroom because that's what I can afford, but maybe it makes more sense to get that HELOC, get the 2-bedroom, and then have potential upside when you go to sell it. And now you have this larger property on your property that can help build value for you in the future outside of mom and dad's using it. And you may be selling their place and then you're building this place on your property. So you have the money from the sale of their place, wherever their 2-story house, and they're downsizing, right? So there's definitely a lot of different things that can be in play there.
I've had some conversations with some realtors, and it's like I try to get them to look at it from that perspective. There's so many different ways in which this can be looked at where it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've even had someone, say to me that they want to do this so that they can live in the main house. The parents live in the ADU, but it could also be the opposite.
Yeah.
Maybe you keep them in the area that they are comfortable and they're used to and they know, because if they have memory issues,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's why it's just such a
Very personal.
this is a very personal decision to make. And I think it really shouldn't be taken quickly and lightly. I can't stress that enough, really.
Yeah, we've uncovered a lot of things. This was great. Did we forget anything? Did I forget anything? Is there anything burning inside that you wanted to share? Or
I think you pretty much talked about, we talked about a little bit of everything with these units. And I mean, I feel like if anyone wants to, have a conversation, talk further about it, I mean, I could talk about ADUs forever. I love the product. I love what it can do for families. I've seen what it can do for families. Can I just tell them?
Yeah, no. So let them know. Thank you so much for dropping some knowledge today. Let the people out there know where they can reach you best. If you guys gained any little golden nuggets from today's call, has your mind start spinning with thoughts and ideas, maybe you have a friend or family member or someone that this may benefit, share the show. And then also, Jane, tell them where they can connect with you.
Okay, so I said something earlier that if you didn't quite catch, I'm going to say it again. Go to ADU assessment, no S on the end, .com. That's the quickest, easiest way. If you're curious at all about taking one of those or want to know what's in it and what type of information, that you should look at and maybe think about, that will give you a quick way of looking at it. You'll get a report at the end. You'll see these different areas divided and what you score in it. It's a conversation piece as well, so I think that I would encourage you to do that. If you want to, reach out to us in any other way, go to js1construction.com. There's a place on there where you can leave us a message there and we'll get it and we'll reach back out to you.
So JS1, the number one.
JS, the number one, construction.com.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was great. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening and joining us today. Like I share all the time, if any of this resonates with you, don't hesitate to reach out to the guests for more information. We'd love to be a resource. And if you got any golden nuggets or has your mind spinning, thinking about, oh yeah, this could help my friend, this could help a family member, share the show. The goal is to make sure that we get all the information out there into your hands so that you can make the best decisions for yourself and your family. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Thank you so much.
I just bought a new automobile the same way they did in the 1900s when movies were silent.
Well, I just got this Jeep from FlexCar. Maintenance and insurance are included, and I can switch cars anytime.
What are you, high on giggle juice?
The first and only month-to-month car lease. FlexCar, you drive everything.